give it
Okay,
like
perfect.
3 more seconds and we'll be good to go.
Thank you. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Elisa Peda. I'm the Studio 210 Residency Manager. I'm here with our Winter 2026 Studio 210 residents and our guest mentor, KT Nelson. This conversation is part of our Studio 210 residency, which provides resident artists space, time, and mentorship to develop and explore new performance material. Today's conversation is an exciting look into the creative process of our two resident artists, which culminates in performances on February 27th and 28th in person at Studio 210 in San Francisco and live streamed to YouTube. The ticket link will be in the chat for you to get your tickets. I'd like to turn it over to our guest mentor, KT Nelson. KT, do you want to introduce yourself and let us know about your role?
Yeah, my name is KT Nelson. I've been in the San Francisco dance community since 1973 and been very much a part of the development of ODC over many, many years. Have recently gone a little more independent. I call myself deinstitutionalizing myself and reaching out in the community and different. I feel that both these artists, both Aaron and Tunji, are very practiced, know themselves as artists, have confidence in it. And I did at some point wonder, is like, what can I offer? But in general, my feeling about mentoring, which I have a little trouble with that word because it has a hierarchical connotation, is to just try to be in the studio side by side and offer thoughts. I say the two things that I noticed both with Aaron and Tunji is both of them really explore the physicality. They each have their own language, their own style of moving, but each work has its own dialect. And I can relate to that. It's a way I work. I feel like I can offer insight or support around that approach. So that feels good to me. And the other thing I've been really trying to do also as a choreographer is like notice what's happening in the room. Notice that both questions Shar asked Tunji were related, 1 hour apart, but they were related questions. Also pointed out, Shar said something like, oh, I get this, but if we do it 10 more times, it won't be, my body will start to understand. Just the learning curves and observing that kind of conversation and dialogue and say, that seems like supportive, that's good. Like, it's not like, why are you doing that step? And I think for Aaron, I actually noticed how well both of them ran rehearsal. And in their own style, each choreographer runs rehearsal differently, depending on what their work is, what their personality is, what they care about. But both artists rehearsal in their style with their inner being, and it felt good and clear and productive. And the thing I wanted to say about Erin is she was teaching phrases, and something Erin can't see because she's teaching is like her plie was a beautiful, endless. Get it because she couldn't see herself dance. So like I can be that eye. Anyway, so that's the kind of stuff that I feel like I'm useful for.
Great, thank you, Katie. So now that we've gotten a little preview about what our artists are like in rehearsal from KT, let's introduce our winter residents. We have Baba Tunji and Aaron Yen. Could you please introduce yourselves and tell us a little about yourselves as artists and about your artistic practice? Who wants to go first?
I'm getting pointed to. Hi, folks. My name is Erin Yen. I run a small dance company called Dragon's Dance, and I'm in the process, well, I'm always in process, but I'm working to kind of figure out what my choreographic aesthetic is and how I share that with other people. Um, I I often dance in my own dances, but for this Studio 210 work, I am stepping out so that I can both teach phrase work, but hopefully see things from the outside a little bit more too. I'm working with five dancers, Sarah Amons, Emily Hansel, Abigail Hinson, Isabella Suhu, and Elizabeth Wea, which I like to mention the dancers included in it as well. Yeah, I move and I make dance with the belief that anything that happens in the rehearsal process is eventually reflected in the performance or the sharing of the dance. So I'm intentional about how I treat other people in the room because I know that that will be seen eventually. Uh, yeah.
Hey y'all, Opportunity here. I have been in dancing in the Bay Area since 20, I think 2012 was when I joined the Lions some training program. Um, and from that point all the way up until now, I've been in and out. Danced a little bit in Denver before joining Lines, danced with Lines for a long time, and then left the company and moved to Seattle. But there was always something that pulled me back, and so pandemic happened while I was in Seattle, and I moved back to San Francisco at that point, and then from there was like, okay, I think that this is where I want home to be. This is where I want to lay down roots. I've been dancing since I was born. I was always just a mover to some degree or another, and so I've really enjoyed bringing other people's dreams or ideas to life. I find a great sense of pride and a way it feels like a way that I'm able to show my care and my love for others, i.e., choreographers. Um, and I'm at this point in my life where I'm trying to figure out what do I have to say, which feels sounds very generic, but I guess that's just like a part of being a human, trying to figure out what do I have to say, like why when I'm no longer following, what am I? And so that's kind of where I'm at this point in time. I've been encouraged by a great many people in the Bay Area dance community to start to create my own work, and this is just kind of early endeavors into, yeah, trying to be less afraid. And this this amazing residency is actually just that. It's providing a really awesome opportunity to experiment. There still is like a performance that happens, and so like there, this like, oh crap, I'm scared of that. But I think that that's also a necessary thing because I'm learning, and I don't think I'm dissimilar to any other choreographer. I can get stuck in my head. And so I think having that end date is really good. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I wanted to keep talking, but I don't know if I should pass the mic.
No, that's great. I think let me pose another question, and it might naturally lead you to where you wanted to go. Um, Thank you both for those beautiful introductions. You both sound like very caring leaders, so I'm excited to see what you come up with. That said, there is a performance at the end of this. So, what are either of you working toward in this winter residency? And KT, feel free to chime in or pose any questions that come up through this conversation.
Okay.
Um, Working towards, I guess my work, it's a duet with me and my wife, Charmaine Butcher, and it is, um, it's kind of a study on power dynamics. Power, I feel like shows up in our lives in multitude of ways. Sometimes it's something that we use to overcome an obstacle. Sometimes it is said obstacle exerting its 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 power over us, and so it can feel oppressive. Sometimes power is something that we kind of group around. Like this person seems like a powerful, safe individual, so I'm going to like huddle around that person so I can stay safe. Sometimes power is scary when someone wields it, trying to like incite fear. So yeah, just trying to find this thing that feels very, it's always in our lives, and I feel like the where it's coming from and what its use is keeps changing. And so that's really been the driving factor for the duet. Lots of my movement tends to be quite virtuosic and big and bombastic, and I come from a breakdance background, so there's a lot of this like what can sometimes appear from the outside kind of superhuman athleticism. And Charmaine exhibits the same thing. So we're tussling a lot. There's certain moments where like they're in this very strong position, but it's so strong that it's unable to move. So then I come in and then I exert my control over that. And whether or not they want that, they glide with it, or maybe they don't want it. So they need to get out of it and then they exert their power over me. So yeah, that's I hope that gives a bit of an idea of like the overarching ideas that we're working with. And on top of that, I just wanted to say it's incredible having KT in the room. We haven't had too much time, but with the little time that we have had, it's just so amazing. Even if we're talking about power here, I'm have the power in the rehearsal. I want this to happen and do it like this and try this and try this. And so then there's another power dynamic in that Charmaine's like, well, okay, what about this? And I need this and I need that. And then KT, as like docile and kind as you are still exerting a certain amount of power. And though you're not like, you should do this, you have like this, there's a reverence about you and there's a knowledge about you. And so you use power in a way that is a suggestion, or power in the way that it's like a light that you're shining. And so though we don't think of that as power, that's more of like guiding, that's kind. It's just another way to use power. So I do want to say that having you in the room, you've been like integral, and just me and Shar to this day are still talking about that one rehearsal and like finding new ways to share the dynamic. But yeah, that's my piece.
Can I ask Tunji a question?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, talking about having been a dancer, realizing other people's dreams and visions, power is a common choreographic topic.
Mm.
In your working process, have you run into, oh, that's their version, not mine?
Mm.
Or do you feel like you're carrying some artistic baggage at all? Or does it feel newfound because you're working just with somebody you know really well?
I think it's twofold. I think that I do carry some baggage from previous choreographers that I've worked with, and some learned stuff in the sense not that they said, hey, this is how you're supposed to run a room, but just I observed and I was their kid. I chose to be their kid at that moment. And so I saw how they ran the room and I clocked like, this is how they get their vision across, or this is how they get people to follow them. And there is an aspect of me that's like, even though sometimes it was uncomfortable, it seemed like the right way because it was the only way that I knew. And I feel like then I start to work with Shar or anyone, but let's say Charmaine, because I work with them the most and they're the one that I'm working with in this piece. They push back, and through multiple dialogues, I started to learn what you're saying. That's their power, and this is how they're choosing to exert it. Um, and by having a conversation with two powerful energies, I started to learn that some of the ideas that I had learned are not necessarily the right ways. They're not conducive. They're not a power that holds. They're more of a power that pierces through. So I feel like um, through opening up to being available to other voices, I've learned ways to take my power and bend it and make it more fluid and not so rigid, which I feel like is more conducive for a healthy relationship in all aspects.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Um, I could frankly just listen to a back and forth. I'm really excited about your process, Tunji, because know that we're working in similar timelines towards a similar end date, but I don't know what you're working on at all.
Yeah.
Like just haven't had the time privilege to have this overlap. So I'm really thankful for that first and foremost. I think Ellie, to answer your question directly, what am I working towards? I'm working towards that 27th, 28th work in progress showing date. It's a clear deadline, and I should have something to share at that time. Since I'm really in the middle of this residency, I'm battling my desire to find a linear sense of what's happening in the studio. And thanks to Katie for kind of pointing that out. I was trying to put two things. I'm like, oh, well, this one thing might make sense next to this thing. And Katie said, just so you know, you don't have to think linearly about it all. So I'm excited that I feel like I've got permission to just kind of keep going deeper, knowing that something will happen out of it, whether it's a 20-minute something that's lined up together, set together, or a few different ideas that we kind of see for the work. I am working on this idea or this guiding question: how does the nervous system play a role in disassociation from the modern world? I'm talking with a dear friend who is a neurologist, currently in her third year of residency at Penn State, about like what's the chemistry behind the brain, what are the ways that the brain can kind of break down in the communication process or the transfer of information from sensing something to sending it all the way through and letting the body feel it. Because I'm interested in communication in general, from person to person, but I think it's kind of fascinating that communication could potentially break down within somebody's own one body, one self. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm playing with.
Those both sound quite interesting, and I immediately think, when I think of power dynamics, I think of political issues at the moment, and then I think of dissociating and how I want to dissociate from what's happening. So I'm interested
Straight
to
up.
what both
Yeah.
of you come up with.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, thank you. I'm curious now to hear a little bit more about the residency itself, and how, hopefully you have, but how have you found it useful to your process? I know Aaron sort of mentioned having an end date sort of keeps you, from just getting stuck in process. But how has this residency been useful to you?
You want to go first, Aaron?
I could. Yeah, the the studio time is particularly useful as a part of this residency. I think that having a place to bring ideas to the surface or feel at home in is really important to me as a maker and as a dancer. Yeah, a place that I can come back to. I'm not working with props right now, but I have the potential to store props or costumes in a space. Yeah, it's really nice.
Aaron, do you think you
Mhm.
would have as many dancers that you have if you didn't have this residency?
Ooh, probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it
I'm lucky
allows
to
you
be
to
working with
fulfill this
5.
particular vision. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we
I
can
al-
all come at home in
Yeah.
one space.
Yeah. And you got a certain amount of underwriting so that you don't have to pay for everything. I also want to encourage both of you. I know there's that deadline, and I know I would be doing exactly this, trying to put sense on it sooner than maybe it wants to be, because the benefit of a residency is to research and explore. I mean, like this is so just if you can stop yourself from being a good student,
Yeah. Well, Jessica
a
just
good
sent
investigator instead.
Oh, yeah,
Jessica
I
just
love.
sent a comment from Deb that sometimes the presentations are just fragments, so no pressure for perfection. It is.
Oh,
Y'all are on
I'll
the same
Claire.
wavelength.
Yeah, I feel no pressure from you all. It's personal pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, for sure, I find in this last week and a half, especially, I'm noticing that I'm trying or wanting to
Mhm.
push towards making sense of it all, but trying to hang out in the slightly more uncomfy zone of, I don't really know.
Mhm. Yeah.
For me, what was the question? I forgot.
How has the residency been useful to your process? How do you
Okay,
feel?
great up. Right there, I got it. I'm locked in. It honestly, wow, there's a great many things. Um, I think having okay, so number one, the space. Um, Going online, speaking with Bob, shout out Bob, asking him to book the studio space and then committing to go in and work during that set period of time on this um, is invaluable. I built a sprung floor in my home because I'm always from one thing to the next thing. So the only time that I have time to do stuff, create, is at home in this very enclosed space. And it's me and Charmaine, we live together. So it'd be like we could work on this, but also somebody gotta do the dishes, or we could work on this, but also we gotta get the laundry ready for, oh, we gotta cook. So there's always this something else that I would be juggling if I wasn't in the actual rehearsal space. Um, so that's one. Number two, like it's not a whole bunch of money, but we're getting some money to do
Mhm.
this. And in this economy where like it is important to make money in order to keep a certain degree of comfortability in our society, um, even if it's a little money, it still is like I'll say for myself, I don't want to be a capitalist, but I live in this world. And so my brain works like that of a capitalist in the sense that like my time is money, and if I don't make money, then this bill is going to be that much more, or I should actually be taking that class. And so
Mhm.
I I'm able to quiet that demon in myself and say like this is enough. And so now you have to dedicate because this is enough. It's going to be enough. So I'm going to say that that amount of funding is really amazing to yeah, quiet those voices that would say you should be stacking if you're going to make it equitable.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I'm gonna bring it back to KT. I don't have anybody in my space when I'm working, because it's my house. So somebody gonna have to come to my house in order to do it. And so to have this just eyes that are not my own, um, uh, and she has a wealth of knowledge, so that too, so it's not just any eyes, but to have her eyes on it, and then to know that her eyes are there to question in not an oppressive way or like a way that has like an alternative motive besides just the fact that like this is an area that could be this, and I have no opinion on it, but by her, it's almost like she's my voice, like not like oh I should have thought of that, but like she says that in a way where it seems like I'm thinking it, and just by hearing her say it, then it's like, oh yeah, I should. I don't have any friction. Um, so yeah, having access to this skilled lived body in the space that is just as open as the space is. Um, and I
Mhm.
could keep going, but I'm gonna stop there.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, it is. All of those aspects, I think, make this residency very special. Um, so my next question is about the work itself. If you have you found any new insights from being in process with this residency, either about yourself as a choreographer or the themes that you're working with? I know Babatunja, you work often with your wife. Um, has this process, like you mentioned, working at home, now you're bringing in a third person into this process. Has that brought new insights or changed the way that you work in any way? And Erin, same for you.
Yeah. Um, the floor is hella slippery. I don't never dance barefoot. So now I'm dancing barefoot. And it's actually nice. I'm like, I want to always dance barefoot. Can the floor always be this slippery? Because it feels great. Um, we're going to be working, we're attempting to work with some obtuse breaking shapes, which involves pressure on the forearm, pressure on the elbow, pressure on the head. These things that when doing it, um, in most conventional dance spaces that have like a Harlequin Marley or whatever, you're like not able to do certain things. So we have this like movement quality of smear that's coming into play, and it's like smear. You think of smear and you think of something laying on the ground and being dragged across the ground. We're gonna do that, but because of how nice that wood floor is, like we're finding smear with like upright, large positions but still like gliding across the ground as if like there's a fan blowing it or a rope attached to it. So it's bringing in this like kind of like etherealness that comes with like seeing this like stop motion animation, that I want to find out a way to continue to replicate as I have to dance on more conventional spaces. So like I don't know if it's like getting clearance to use baby powder to evolve to allow this like almost like slick surface to without damaging the Marley, of course.
Yeah.
Um, is there any other newness? Um,
So no
I
movement qualities. You're just
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah, yeah. Oh, hell's yeah.
That's interesting.
And the space is you'll see it. The space lends itself to that. So the goal is how do I take it? It can't always happen there. How do I take it out of there? Also dancing in the space that is in a sense a theater. It feels like a theater, but it's also like a box and utilizing the walls. I don't think like that, but it again makes me I feel like a lot of my career at this point is telling me you should be in more found spaces or less theatrical spaces, i.e., not always on a proscenium stage. So I think that uh, having these possibilities so close to me, like those, like the walls, because we're in this cube. I didn't know it was in me, but I was drawn to like, oh wait, what if we like smear your body on the wall, or you cartwheel me up against the plaster me up against the wall, and it's all these things that are like, oh, I feel like I'm normally boxing myself in, and it's something about being in this in an open space. I'm usually boxing myself in, but I'm in this literal box and I feel like things are just blossoming, and it may come just because of those constraints that exist within those four walls. Um, but yeah, those are some of the things that are kind of developing because of the literal space.
That's cool.
I think I'll second some of those thoughts about the literal space being malleable, moldable to different ideas. There's chairs on one side, and then you look kind of into what is a box. And in Studio 210, there's these black curtains that you can bring across different places if you want. So if you want to have the sun coming in through the windows, we could have those black curtains open. If you want to use that side and also the whole blank white wall side of it, we can open that too. I don't want to see any white, block it all off, but then we can do a full black box. So some of the work that I'm trying to play with is I'm trying to play with dancers existing in one reality and then shifting over time to a slightly different reality. And that play is in part possible because I can move different things around in this same space. Yeah, and then I think I'll second some of the things that we were talking about earlier, just how helpful it is to have Katie as a part of this whole process. Um, yeah, to share things with me that maybe I wouldn't see entirely, or maybe I would have to take a week and a half off from watching the choreography in order to have enough space from it to see a thing. Katie can pretty immediately give me that feedback, so I can get to the next step just a hair quicker than I would be able to do alone. And life as a choreographer and a maker is really lovely, but sometimes can feel lonely. So this whole process has made it feel a little less lonely to be over here, create and dance. And that's lovely.
Mm.
Thank you both. A comment from Michaela, who's watching live. They say that this discussion is making me excited to join you in the studio soon. Thank you. And
Yay.
I would agree with that. So you're in this process, you're about halfway through. Do you have a sense yet of what you want your audience to come away with, or what you're hoping that they see or feel or have questions about?
Okay.
Looking at you,
I
Erin.
was going to advise not to answer that question,
Oh, okay.
honestly. I feel like they're not, they're still in the middle. There's a point in choreography where you're generating and just creating, and you haven't figured out what's actually in the piece yet.
Mhm.
And I know there's a moment in choreography where I like, okay, I really don't like that transition, but I go to the dancer and say, what do you feel should happen here? Because I know enough of it's out of me and in them.
Mm.
And when that starts happening, then you start to know what you want the audience to see. But there's just this whole process where it's unfolding consciously, unconsciously out of you with these other bodies. Anyway, that would be my recommendation, is to not answer the question.
Fair, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, wait, I want to second, or I would have not like we can't answer, but I do want to add to what KT is saying in the sense that, yeah, I don't know what I want anyone to go away with. Uh, um, and I did have a moment where I was like, yeah, I got something, and Shar was literally that voice that was like, why are you trying to like
Mm.
do all this? And I'm like, because the 27th and the 28th,
Mhm.
it's coming. They're coming for us. They're coming. Um, and quite frankly, like, it is so odd because I said at the beginning, having this date is amazing because it does light a certain fire under the butt so that you have a product. And it means that, like, the public also knows, yeah, I know when I'm going to get to, like, be in communion with this person. And that's what I need. I want to be in communion with the public, you know what I mean, or with the community.
Mhm.
Um, but man, if I could have it my way, which probably it wouldn't be right because then it'd be 2028. All right, I've got 5 minutes. But no, it would be like to do the same thing, but literally like balloon it out for like 4 months because and again, I couldn't ask for you all to give the space for all 4 of those months the whole time, and I couldn't ask KT to give time for all those 4 months because time and space is money. But what this residency has enabled is this almost like ballooning of curiosity, and within that ballooning of curiosity, I realize how much I stifle so much of my creativity because I so quickly jump to the lens of like, this is how I want people to think of me, or this is how I want people to view me. And I'm learning that how I wanted people to view me isn't entirely me. So I'm figuring me out, quite frankly, through this, just because we had that one Zoom meeting and you all said, hey, we're going to give you the keys and you're going to do this. You know what I mean? Because y'all trust it. So I do want to say, uh, I felt like that kind of related to what KT was saying. And to answer the question, yeah, I don't know yet, and I'm going to continue not to know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that personally, work in progress showings are more emotionally taxing or just like difficult to approach for me than a finished show. Because the finished show, I've gotten, okay, yeah, like these are my ideas. This is how I want to present them. This is how they are going to be seen, and maybe I'll have a sense of how they're going to be received. But in this middle stage, the answers, I don't know. I've got some ideas that I can, of course, share, but I don't know.
No, don't
In the
share.
best way possible. Yeah, I don't know.
And I say don't answer the question because I do sometimes feel like putting language to something that's actually nonverbal.
Mm.
If these were more theatrical production or more theater, I feel like sometimes when you put language, inspiration,
Mm.
which so and the other thing I want to say is that both these artists have plenty of skill, and they have good dancers. So I think no matter what part of the process we experience, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be clear. It may not be complete in any kind of regard, but there's going to be something there. I promise you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to it. Hey T, while I have you here, do you, and talking about both of these pieces, have you noticed any ways that these projects intersect?
Well, I just heard some, which I have. Tunji's been doing a lot of non-stage work. I've seen a lot of very theatrical physicality.
Mhm.
And Erin and I talked a little bit. She talked about props and stuff like that. But just hearing you talk about the room, I'm like, okay, there's some theatricality that the room is offering to both of them in very different ways. I would say Tunji's is more physical, Erin is more theatrical, and from one world to another. And so I think that this way they will be sharing them. And you also they'll be sharing some relatedness. And Ellie, I think they're responding to our time,
Mhm.
our disassociation. Yeah. So we're all there.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Um, yeah. And I'm proud that I'm working with people that are asking those questions right now. That makes me feel comfortable.
That's great. Um, I have one more question for our residents before we open it to our audience. I'm not sure, Jessica, if we have anybody on YouTube right now, but to our residents, has your interest in the topic that you're working with, has this been an exploration that's been ongoing for you in your work, or is this a recent interest? Is it evolved from something that you worked on before, or is this, yeah, something brand new?
I think for me, it is it isn't recent. I think maybe my focus has been recently on it, for myriad of reasons. Um, but I think that I feel that it started to come up when me and Charmaine first started to work together a number of years ago, in that I never enjoyed the fact that uh, a feminine body isn't able or isn't given the opportunity always, um, to be the main supporter. And so we would build a lot of our duet work, um, with me giving Charmaine my weight, trying to figure out how can we find a safe way for you to be able to do this. Like, you just started going to the gym and doing all this stuff, coming from like being a trainer and now getting into more contemporary work. And they also had that one. It's like, I know you big, but like I can take this weight. So we've always been playing with that, and I've learned that my go-to is to manhandle and save and do all these things. Um, uh, Even though my brain doesn't want to adhere to those very like conventional masculine traits, my nervous system does. I'm able to, so I should. Um,
Mm.
and so I think that Uh, yeah, I think that I've been playing with it. I can do a backflip. Wow, that's very powerful. And then people are going to clap for me and love me because I could do this backflip. So like I've always understood like power gets something. Um, and I think it's only been recently that I've been trying to understand, uh, just trying to really understand what does the definition of power mean, and that's been the thing that's led me to understanding that it's very fluid and it's very unconventional. And we just have decided on a couple as a community or as a society.
I heard you mention your nervous system and blocking that off, and I think that's a great transition to Erin.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh-huh.
I'd say that the ideas that I'm exploring in this residency, I seem to have slightly clearer language around them, but I think that I've been exploring this for a while. I think I'm always interested in how dance can transport an audience and the dancers themselves to a world that is other or different. And yeah, just acknowledging dance as an entertainment form, one of many, that has the potential to provide people a release, a way to get away from what they're doing in life, but is also an extension, of course, of our current moment in time because these are physical bodies that are live dancing in front of you. Yeah, and I've been subconsciously on not consciously and subconsciously thinking through these kind of things, I think for a while. But then to be in conversation with a friend who's in a completely different field than I am, also interested in these ideas, we started to go, oh, this has got to connect somehow. So that's what I feel lucky to be doing in this particular residency.
Thank you.
Can I ask the artist something? As you search for your expression through physical language, um, uh, what what is the virtuosity? I'm thinking about Bob Batunji talking about in his flips. What is the virtuosity that actually matters to you? Not the one that the world says, ah, they know what they're doing. That was well done and is reassuring to them. But what's the virtuosity that you care about? How you plie, how you step, how present you are, how wild you, I don't know, but I'd be curious for you. You don't have to answer this question, but what does your virtuosity in your value system look like?
I'm gonna attempt it.
Me too.
I'm still figuring it out. I feel a great many things when I'm moving. And I think that I'm I'm a very inside, I have a very strong belief that we're gonna be okay. And I have a very strong belief that we can find a way to love and accept everyone. And I feel it when I'm dancing. Like I just did a performance with a homie. Sorry if you're seeing this, it's all good. I ain't got nothing against you, but like they like raised their voice at me during a tech rehearsal and they like were impeding me going out and doing this thing that I care about because they felt like I was uh, uh, treading on them by asking them not to touch a preset thing that I needed to go out and hook onto somebody. And it was just like a moment of miscommunication. And I had so much frustration that this person like yelled at me because I don't yell at me. Um, but then when I move my body and it happened just after that interaction happened. And then I just had understanding. It was like, you know what? I shouldn't have said, oh no, put that down, put that down. I should have said it once. And if they didn't, then like I could have waited. And then asked the second time, they probably felt like I said it too fast. And then maybe their system short circuited. So I was able to get outside of myself to understand them better. And I find that when I dance. Like I find this ability to get outside of myself and to feel whatever's deep inside of me. And I think it's just this tender, sad love. I think that's what's at my core, just really tender, really sad, and really loving. And then it kind of being able to access that kind of makes it so that I'm able to be in the world and not hate so well. And I believe that my that virtuosic nature of myself is the ability to feel it I hope this is it. I think this is it. I able to feel it at such a high vibration while I'm moving that just maybe other people who are watching me can also feel it. So when I get past my ego, even if I'm doing a backflip or a head spin, if I'm feeling not just cool, but like I'm feeling flight right now, then maybe they can feel
Mm.
flight. Or I'm feeling when I hit the ground because I tripped and fell, I'm feeling like not necessarily always pain, but just like I'm feeling defeat, and now I'm getting up, and now I'm feeling aspirational. Now I'm feeling defiant in the face of, and maybe they're going to be able to feel that, but always still coming from this tender, sad, and loving place. That's my thought.
Now, I'm gonna add the word dopey. So tender, sad, dopey love
Yeah,
for
I
me.
love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Dopey.
Um, yeah, I'll also Tunji, you just did a lot of lovely talking with your hands, and I think to answer this question, my hands just keep doing this, like a slightly soft yet has a bit of tension, expansive nature to it. The hands are in communication with one another, which I have to imagine is me thinking about the communication that happens between the performance and the audience. Um, yeah, and then I think in my attempt to answer the question is whether it's a backflip or a performer just being with themselves, being really present on stage. Um, I know it when I feel it. There's there's like a slight drop of my stomach that happens, and a like expansive backspace thing that goes on when I really feel like we as performers and audience are on the same page, on the same frequency, and like in the room together experiencing something. So can absolutely happen from a kind of classically thought virtuosic moment of like a big arabesque that extends past the reaches of the room. But also, yeah, I've felt it so many times when like someone lands something and just like takes a moment, takes a breath, and I'm like, oh, I'm all in. I'm there with you.
Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we do have a couple of questions from our audience. Deb asks, curious to know how Erin is adding in her collaborators.
That open-ended, great. Yeah. um, I um, I really respect these dancers, and in admiring them from afar, working with them before for some of them, I kind of feel like they're all uniquely beautiful individuals, but have some overlap with one another in how they move through space, that it would be interesting to work with them as a collective. Um, Also, I'll throw in there, thanks to, in part, the funds from this residency, I am paying all 5 of these dancers living wage hourly to dance, which I think is important for people to know that, yeah, we got to pay our bills. And I
Bring it
respect that.
up.
Yeah. um, yeah. I've got them learning some phrase work, making up some stuff, and yeah, all the good stuff. A great moment happened last week in rehearsal where I was like, okay, like let's move on and do this. And the dancers said, actually, we want to talk about the experience we just had. And then we sat for 15 minutes, and they just kind of gave me feedback on what the work was doing for them and what the different tasks I had added on to the movement experience they were having, like how that filtered through their bodies, what they felt about it. Um, and that was maybe the best part of the residency so far.
Beautiful. One more question for you, Erin. Michaela wants to know if your friend, we're assuming the person, the mixologist, if your friend is coming to see the work, and they hope that that person is.
Oh my gosh. She's getting the live stream link. She is, I forget what rotation, but maybe on one of those 24-hour, 48-hour shift situations. So not coming in person, but I'll make sure she sees the work.
Thank you. And then we have a comment from Deb. It's very actorly what you're talking about, the interior life affecting the exterior presentation.
I also thought that your answers to virtuosity were like the answers to what do you want your audience to experience?
Hey.
Be like, I said,
Let's
don't
go.
answer it, then we full circle.
Could you send the video so that we could like
Just watch
get
it
the
and learn it.
text?
You'll have the
Okay,
link.
what happened there? Those are beautiful physiological descriptions of what virtuosity, but also what you're after physically,
Mhm, mhm.
formatively. So
Mm.
really gems. Keep those.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's a great place to wrap it up. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please join us for the residency performances on February 27th and 28th, where we'll see this culmination of each residence process and have a final discussion and feedback session with our audience. The performance will have limited in-person tickets and will also be live streamed on Friday, February 27th. You can reserve a ticket for either viewing format by going to the link we'll post in the chat. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, residents and KT, for joining us today. And I so look forward to seeing your work.
Thank you.
Same, thank
Thank
you.
you all. Okay. And thank you for the support.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Peace, y'all.
Hey, I was going to ask Babatunji something.